So Max Kellerman has finally come out and talked about his departure from First Take, and he has some strong words for his former co-host on First Take, Stephen A. Smith. Matter of fact, a lot of this information people probably didn't know, or some people did know, but let's get to the video. This is Max Kellerman talking about his departure from First Take and why Stephen A. Smith doesn't have any hot takes.
We said we were going to talk about you leaving ESPN, and you weren't able to talk about a lot of stuff, and a lot of other people were talking, including people you did shows with. How frustrating was it for you to sit on the sidelines, be talked about, but not be able to talk?
That doesn't bother me at all.
Okay.
You're talking about me like I'm not sweating anybody like that. But I was very flattered that, because if you go off the air, you're not sure that the sports world would care, right? But people seem to care. I was like, oh, look at that. People are thinking about me. I was very flattered by it, to tell you the truth. And in terms of the stuff that went down behind the scenes, there were things said to me in private that early on that it's not like anyone said to me, hey, this is top secret, don't repeat this. But I think there's a general understanding that if someone's talking to you in private, it's a private conversation. And I wouldn't repeat that unless they said it was okay to repeat what they told me.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that Max Kellerman wasn't really phased on leaving First Take or, leaving ESPN and all these things. And I think early on, there was tension in the air on First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. Maybe it's because, people look at the comments and people see that, Max is more of a type of person that people can relate to. But hey, let's continue.
Yeah. So that's what I could tell you about, like the behind the scenes stuff on First Take, for example. But in terms I'm really not worried about that stuff,
But so Stephen A. you're in a relationship with where you're doing a show together for how many years? 4?
5.
5 years. You're with this dude every day. Seeing him in the mornings, you do commercial breaks, you're hanging out.
Sure.
And then the show ends, or the show ends with you, and he moves on with other people. And then, and I should say I like Stephen A. and I've always gotten along with him. I didn't love how he handled the aftermath of you leaving. Whereas basically, like, I told you the show would be better. I just thought, because I think you're really talented. Now, you and I have known each other for a while. Whether it meshed as a show perfectly, I don't know the answer to that. But I just didn't think that was the right way to handle it.
If it wasn't the right way to handle it, you know what I'm saying? You don't go on podcasts and go on different platforms and say that the show is much better that a person's not on the show. I mean, you will wish that person well. You'll say, you know what? It is what it is. We had a nice little run or whatever, and we continue. We evolve in the show. But you don't say the show's much better off because the person's not on it, even if you didn't like the person. Sometimes you have to just say, you know what? Take the high road. Don't say anything bad, and just go ahead, man. But at the end of the day, I think Max Kellerman had to sign an NDA, so he couldn't say anything about this whole situation. NDA's up, so now he's talking.
If you're doing a debate show and you're a competitive person,
yeah,
why would you want me as a partner? That's bad. You want to go 15 rounds every day with Muhammad Kellerman? That's just bad. It's embarrassing,
So you think that was part of it? He didn't want to put the time in? Or like just want a different type of show? What's your take looking back 2 years later? I don't think it has to do with
put the time in. It's, it's a debate show.
You're ready to roll on all topics.
You want to if you're, I have an idea. This is what I want to put on TV. I want to spar Bud Crawford every day for 15 rounds, and I want everyone to see it. Eventually, you're going to say, I don't want to do that anymore.
That's true. I mean, you think about it. Max Kellerman, basically what he's talking about is it's a debate show. So there's a topic. Let's say we're talking about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying? If I don't agree with what you're saying, I'm going to, question what you're saying. Like, that's a debate. You know what I'm saying? You have your point of view. I have my point of view. Max Kellerman was thinking like, okay, I may not agree with what you're saying, Stephen A. So I'm going to give my point of view and you may not agree and vice versa. I don't think Stephen A. wanted to smoke because in the grand scheme of things, when I watched the show, even though I didn't agree with some of Max's takes, there were some takes I was like, yo, he got a point there. He got a point there, and Stephen A. Smith couldn't stomach that.
Then you bring in some other people in a rotating cast.
Yeah. That's one aspect of it. There are others. In other words, that's what I could tell you from my point of view.
Yeah.
And I also think that if you make a calculation that if you can be perceived as a solo act, really, that you can get paid at a certain level that you can't if you're not a solo act, then you'd like to be a solo act, or at least perceived that way.
Well, so like Mike and the Mad Dog are a good example of a show where it was the two of them together for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, whatever happened. Mike got his own show and he stayed on top for
Do you know who was supposed
6,
to be?
7
Do you know
years.
who he wanted to be in
Did you
Mad
get the
Dog's
call?
new position? Oh, yeah, that was the plan. I was supposed to go over and work with Mike, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I got the call. Who else got the call?
I don't know, but we had like come to an understanding.
So you're going to leave ESPN and do it?
I did leave ESPN.
But not to do a show with Mike.
Yeah.
You did the show with Mike?
No.
So what happened?
My interpretation of what happened, my analysis is, I think he realized at a certain point, they're not going to make me take a partner. Why should I take a partner? Because I'm beating the hell out of the guys across town by myself.
That's the thing, though. People need to understand this. Like, I think what happened is that while Stephen A. Smith was on the show with Max Kellerman, he was, you know what I'm saying, they were kind of like equal, even though Stephen A. was there, he had the longer tenure there, they were kind of seen as equals. And also, you got to think about what Max Kellerman said. Like, you know, now you got a revolving funnel of guests coming on the show on First Take. Stephen A. doesn't have to debate the same person every day. He didn't have to debate Skip every day. He doesn't have to debate Max Kellerman every day. And I think Stephen A. probably figured like, well, I could just go ahead and debate these people who may not have as much knowledge as me from a news perspective. They may have more knowledge than me as far as the sport perspective, but I can give my hot take, and that's the end all be all. And Max Kellerman, you know, he couldn't do that with Max Kellerman.
I think when he thought they're going to make me take a partner, then it was like, okay, well, I'd like it to be with that guy. And then when it was like, I don't need a partner.
Yeah, that's too bad, though, because I actually think long-term, he did need a partner because it's always good to have people to play off of.
Look, I don't need a partner either.
No.
But I like having one because I find conversations more interesting than just talking into the wind, you know?
So over the years, you had Brian Kenny.
Yeah. Jim Lampley, Marcellus Wiley.
Marcellus for a while.
I had great partners. And in fact, I've become good friends with the people I work with because I like, Bill, you know better than anybody. We're getting away with it. If you're in this business, you're getting away with it. Shh, pocket them. Shh, we're talking about sports.
Right.
And like,
you'd be doing this anyway.
Come on. It's your job as a guy, like an average American guy. It's your job to follow sports. It's like literally what you have to do. You have no choice in the matter, right? You got to.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, this whole Max Kellerman situation underlines what's been going on with Stephen A. for a long time. I remember back when I was actually watching the show. I was watching the recording of the show because I was at work when the show actually taped. And T.O. said that Max was more black than him. And I was like, oh, my God. T.O. said that. And I think that got under Stephen A's skin. And I think also what got under Stephen A's skin, and I'm going to keep it a buck. When you start seeing the comments and more people start to agree with Max than agree with you, that hits Stephen A's ego. And honestly, you think about this whole Max Kellerman situation, and you look at Max, you're like, yo, you know what? This dude, you know, you may not like him, you may not really rock with him like that, but you could tell this dude is authentic. You know, he's analytic based, but he has a hot take. And when you're doing a show like that, you have to have a hot take. Like if I'm debating somebody, I don't want nobody to agree with me every single time. I don't want that. I don't need that. I need somebody that's going to bring the best out of me. And I think Max Kellerman wanted that out of Stephen A. Smith, but Stephen A. Smith just wanted a lapdog in Max Kellerman, and Max Kellerman wasn't going for that. So, you know, Stephen A. had a little bit more push. So he like, you know, I got to get this dude off my show because this dude making me look bad. That's all it is. Max Kellerman was making Stephen A. look bad, And I had to get this boy off the show, so they put him on another show, and then they exited him off ESPN. And honestly, you know, Marcellus Wiley, he did a deep dive into the video. So go to his channel, watch his video on this whole situation. But what do you think about this whole Max Kellerman situation? Did he handle it right? You know, talking about, you know, Stephen A. Smith didn't want to really debate. He want to do hot takes and all that. Let me know in the comments below. It's your boy Jay here with another one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, folks, I'm out.